Welcome to Get Real, How to Live a More Authentic Life, with psychologist and author of over 75 books, Dr. Barry Weinhold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get Real, How to Live a More Authentic Life with Dr. Barry Weinhold. My name is Ashley. Dr. Weinhold, how are you today?
I'm grateful as usual.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And even more grateful because after we tape this, I'm going fishing.
Oh, it's that time already.
Yeah, fly fishing season opened up April 1st, and I've got a trip planned. I'm leaving to spend about 3 days out on the water.
Wow. That sounds lovely. Spring is a great time of year. It's always wonderful to have something to look forward to kind of get us through these last dregs.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough winter for me, bunch of things, and so I've been looking forward to this trip for about a month.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I can't say I have any trips planned, but we always look forward to planting in the spring. I love to go out and pick out new flowers for the garden and kind of just get rid of the old and plant the new. And it's a great start to the year.
This place where I go fly fishing, also there are two world-class hot springs resorts.
That does sound lovely.
So after a day of fishing on the water, I'm going to be soaking in the water at night.
That sounds pretty great. You'll have to inform us again when you get back how everything went. It sounds nice. So what do you have for us this week?
Well, a continuation of last week, looking at rites of passage for men, and as I think I said last week, I'm working with a lot of my clients on helping them kind of build an adult-to-adult relationship with their parents. That I think that in itself is a rite of passage, and into adulthood, and often parents don't initiate that. So I'm coaching my clients how they can initiate that with their parents, and I usually start, as I mentioned, with a letter, and writing a letter, and then the guest we have on in a few minutes has a very unusual story to tell about his situation because his father was dead, had died, I think 12 years earlier, but he still was mourning, and he hadn't completed his relationship with his dad, and so he'll tell you that story about how he did that. So that's what I really want to talk about today, and get Brian on and have him tell his story. And then he's a musician. So naturally, musicians write songs about things that are important to them. And he wrote a song about his dad. And then he happened to unluckily be in Las Vegas that day when that mass shooting happened a couple of years ago. And he wrote another song about what it must have been like to be that mass shooter, which is kind of an unusual way to look at that whole situation. But again, it fits the theme that we've been looking at, is what in the background of these men, or actually boys who now are old enough to be men, causes them to act out violently towards others. So let's bring Ryan on, and I'll introduce him and let him tell his story. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. And tell our viewers a little bit about you so that they get an idea of what you've been doing and what you're interested in, and things like that.
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Hughes. I'm a musician, and I have a band. It's called Humble Francis, and we just kind of started releasing some of the recordings that we've been doing. And this first song that we just released is the one that Barry, you were just talking about, that I kind of wrote about my dad, and it's sort of it's actually about the last time I talked to him, and the song is called Last Call. yeah, so it's basically it was about the last call that I had with him, and I was the last person that ever talked to him. So
Yeah, and then talk a little bit about what you did, which might be a little interesting and unusual for how do you build a relationship with somebody who's deceased?
right, yeah. So there was kind of a lot of things that I wanted to talk to him about and questions I wanted to ask him and that type of thing. And so, like you said, first step was to kind of write a letter, and it had a number of questions that I had for him and things that I wanted to address with him. And largely the biggest question was, he committed suicide, and the biggest question was, why did he do it, and what was his kind of reasoning behind that. And when we so then after I wrote the letter, we did the open chair, which was really a pretty amazing experience, where we kind of just set him up in a chair and I read the letter to him. And then as I got to the section where I was asking questions of him, you had me switch chairs, sit in the other chair, and kind of answer the question as if I was him. And that was really interesting, just because there was a lot. What it helped me realize is that I sort of had a lot of the answers. Maybe it was in my subconscious or something like that, but I had a lot of the answers. But doing that exercise kind of really helped me, bring some of those answers that I had to the front of my mind, and realize that maybe there was more information that I knew that I was kind of blocking out.
Mhm. So then that experience led you to do some more research about his death, and you got the police records and really finally kind of wrapped that up for you. There were so many things that happened so quickly, you didn't have a chance to get all of them, completed. And so, you want to say anything about that? What that meant to you?
Yeah, like you were saying, just the completion of it. There was a lot of details that I didn't know, and I really never got the full story until I really kind of after we went through that. I went and just kind of dove in deep and found the police records and read through those and talked to some of my relatives, my mom and stuff, and really got the full picture of the story, which I think was really helpful.
Good, good. So the name of your band is actually named after your dad too, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. The Francis in there that was his middle name.
Uh, so and then you were inspired to write this song, uh, remembering the last time you spoke with him. So let's put the lyrics up on the screen, and we'll play the song, and then you'll talk a little bit more about if you have anything to add about what the song actually meant to you after you did it. And,
Oh, okay, great.
okay.
When you made the choose underground or the evening news, you don't really have a choice. No matter what they say, looking through the bars inside your head, listening could hold you down, hold you down. So much I don't know, even in my head. No soul, I see cold, even if I find a chance. Running out of rope, make toast and turn soak. Just like you don't have a glimpse of hope. It's the risk you run, care that much, it's a loaded gun. The shameless are the lucky ones. So much I don't know, even in my head. No soul, I see cold, even if I find icy cold. So much I don't know. No soul, icy cold.
Good work. Good. Well, tell me about how it felt to write that song and what it does when you hear it, when you play it and sing it. What does that do for you?
Yeah, it kind of just the songwriting. It sort of just comes out. It's not really a lot of thought that goes into it, or I try to even not to overthink it. It's sort of just trying to like sort of maybe channel something and just kind of put down whatever comes out. And I remember when I wrote the song, I was just in a really kind of emotional place, and I was thinking about my dad and the events that all happened with him and that last time that I talked to him. And yeah, it just sort of came out, and I don't try to think about it too much, but there's definitely, a few things, especially listening back, where I realize what I was thinking about, or what when I play it or when I sing it. And there's a couple lines that sort of stand out to me, and some interesting things that even that we've talked about, that sort of they came out on the song which I wrote a couple years ago, but at the time it was more just I didn't really thinking about the meaning behind it. But then after kind of some of the work that we've done, it sort of made me realize even more what I was talking about, in the song. And like there's one line in particular. The line is, "The shameless are the lucky ones." And I don't really remember writing that or what I was thinking about at that time, but after we kind of went through this whole exercise of the empty chair and all that, we sort of a lot of the big questions that I had around it were about why did he choose to do that, and I think there was a deep shame involved there. And so I think that this was something that I already knew, and even a couple years ago when I wrote the song, I knew about it, but bringing that, I didn't realize that I knew it until we kind of did that work.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, it seems to me in going through this experience with you, with the empty chair experience, you came out of that in many ways very different than you were going in. You want to say a little more about that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it was sort of like a rite of passage, like you were talking about. But I think I felt like this just kind of weight of that all this time that I knew that I had this thing that I hadn't been dealing with, and to have just gone through that experience of okay, I've done what I needed to do to deal with it, and going to get the full story about it and getting that police report and the whole thing. Um, yeah, it was kind of just like a giant weight off my shoulders, and I think it helped my own even self-esteem of like, I'm someone who takes care of the things that are bothering me, that rises to the challenges that are in my life.
Yeah. And that kind of work inspired you to also think about doing similar things with your mother, who's still alive.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so similar things with her. I've been talking to her a lot about my childhood, and she's a great mom, and everything. But there's always certain things that the way that affect you as an adult. So I've been talking with her about some of those things.
Yeah, and again, building an adult to adult relationship with her.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to have been an outcome in both the work you did with your dad and also the work you're doing with your mom right now, is that you're building an adult to adult relationship with these people, and
Right.
that must feel good.
Definitely. Absolutely, definitely does. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and telling us your story. I think it's a very interesting story. And we have one more piece that we want to hear because you had the unlucky occurrence of being in Las Vegas when the mass shooting occurred there. And you
Right.
were so moved by all of that. You wrote a song. Tell us a little bit about that song that you wrote.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Like you said, it sort of is like, it's sort of kind of going back and forth between like my perspective of just being somewhere that was around there and sort of getting inside the head of the mass shooter. And it's just sort of a lot of the lyrics are sort of exploring that of like what causes that to happen, which I know is something that you're interested in, and how does a person come to do that? Like some of the lyrics in the second verse are, you know, like I can't understand not an ordinary man. Like how could an ordinary man do that type of thing? And it's kind of talking about me and how I think I could never do anything like that, but it's how does someone get to that place? So it's kind of exploring that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's hear the song and again put the lyrics up there. And this is called Latchkey.
I'm a latchkey. I'm a bad ring. I'm a latchkey. I'm a bad ring. Well, you lying if you say you won't pay no mind. Semi-automatic and it ain't no crime. Even in the desert, it'll rain sometime. Devil get his due, bad brains unwind. We received a call up on the phone. Tripping on the fear up in his tone. Get up off the strip, go pick up the bat. Forget about the juice. There's a madman on the loose. I'm a latchkey. I'm a bad ring.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh, and you hit upon two of the really important things that I have discovered is that many of these mass shooters are loners. They were like a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time growing up alone, and they never learned how to develop normal adult relationships. That's that's the one thing, and then they also this what's the second line under I'm a latchkey?
Bad dream.
I'm a bad dream. They many times don't feel very high, no high regard for themselves. There's a lot of self hatred
Yeah.
and self judgment that goes into them, and frequently then, and I'll be talking in our next episode about more specifically about those characteristics of mass shooters that you hit two of the most important ones in your song. So good lead into my next episode. Anything to add, Ashley?
Just kind of connecting the dots, I think my own takeaways of things, again, that I've been exploring with my own sons and how I want to raise them. It's all about confidence and self-esteem and having somebody believe in you. And you talked about this on the last episode of that rite of passage. And Andreas talked about it too, of like giving responsibility and treating your kids with the respect that you believe that they can do these things, that you can have an adult to adult relationship, and that you are willing to meet them here. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnects happen, is parents aren't willing to meet their kids here, and it ends up
They don't know how.
they don't know how. Yeah, they've not been taught how to do that, how to have a healthy parent-child relationship.
Right.
Mhm.
So again, congratulations on your songs. They're, I think, I wish you all the best with your band and getting these songs out to people and telling your story, because I think it's a very interesting story. And so I look forward to hearing more about that as you and I go along in our work together. But I just wanted to share what you had brought to me with a wider audience, because I think it's a very meaningful and very unusual story, and yet one that has a lot of completion in for you, and
Right.
that's what really I'm striving for with working with people, to get a sense of completion. And if you didn't get to say the things you wanted to say because your parent died, that is difficult. I just worked with a client on Thursday whose father died 20 years ago, and he put his father in an empty chair and had a completion. He asked his father some questions, switched over and answered them as his father, and it was amazing. The results for him were just as powerful as they were for you. And that seems like an unusual way to do that. But how do you do it if a parent has died and you had unfinished business? You have to do something, and that's a ritual, a rite of passage as well, to be able to do that kind of work. So again, congratulations and your courage to move forward in your life and develop the kind of adult to adult relationship you'd like with your mother, which I think is also very important for you. So thanks for coming on the show, and we'll let you exit and we'll move on for closure of this show, and then talk about what I'm going to be doing next time.
Thank you, Brian.
Sounds good.
Right.
All right. So what do we have next week?
Well, I'm going to dig a little deeper into who these mass shooters really are, and what are some reasons why they sometimes kill themselves or others. And so we know that 98% of all mass shooters are men. So I want to know what happened in their development that might have had some effect on them. And I have some ideas, and I'll share those next time.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it. And thank you again for our guest Ryan for joining us and sharing some music with us. And not only that, but his stories. I think stories go a long way too. Where people can share their experiences.
Right.
So thank you so much. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you, Dr. Weinhold.
Namaste.
Namaste.
For more information, please visit the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership at CICRCL.org or click the link in the show notes.